Okay, lesson 2. Congratulations, you have completed the introduction. So, here we are. Today's first goal is to create a setting. Setting again involves genre and environment. An environment includes location, climate, time period, and society. Your first goal by the end of this, we'll be able to do all of that. So, here we go. Genre. There are lots of genres out there. There are subgenres, hybrid genres, which are usually the fun ones. So this is not an exhaustive list. I wind up with many on the list, but it's by no means exhaustive. While you're reading the list on the next page, I want you to think about the types of stories you like to read, and I want you to write down the genre. It's okay if you think of more than one. It's okay if you think of a couple. If you're not sure, just write down both what you think it could be. Like I said. And I do want to point out there's a little confusion sometimes on a few of these. So if you see comedy, that's usually referring to the drama term, the theater term, in which comedy means everything ends up positive at the end. It's not necessarily happy ending, but it's on the upbeat end of things. A lot of times it ends in a marriage, but not necessarily. Usually. And then, so that's different from humor, which would be what you're thinking of, which is the funny haha. Okay. Satire is a form of humor. It is also satire is a genre hopper. It hops from nonfiction to fiction as well. So we'll discuss that at another time. Tragedy always ends on a negative note. So when you're reading Shakespeare and you're reading the funny ones, those are the comedies. They put them in ridiculous situations. Twelfth Night, Midsummer's Night's Dream. Those are the comedies. Tragedy is Hamlet, Othello, Macbeth. Macbeth is also a history. So, we're gonna melodrama. Okay, so drama is largely around families and sagas and things like that. Then a melodrama is when everything is exaggerated. The joke about that's one thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with soap operas, but that was one of the big things with them was every character has one emotional note. Every character gets to show one aspect of their personality. That's what they have, and that's all you ever see. And they're very good at being loud and proud. So they are, yeah. So it's just the exaggerated emotions. It can be funny. It doesn't have to be. It's not always. It's not really meant to be. But they are dramas. Dramas are serious. Melodramatic is a caricature. If you're familiar with that. Horror. There are two kinds of horror. There's the traditional, more gothic type where it's very much on suspense and the unknown and preying on fears, and you may or may not actually ever see the monster. Not necessarily blood and guts. It's people might go psychologically crazy. People might just have something weird happen to them, and but there's may or may not be a supernatural occurrence in it, but it's just very creepy, basically. It's unnerving, is the idea. Then there's that's the slasher films, with all the blood and gore and stuff like that. But in literary terms, it's usually the former one. Let's see, anything else? So yeah, science fiction and fantasy. I think you guys are familiar with that. Some of these cross over very quickly. A romance, there's kind of the older school of it, where they talk about romance. Astrosy is a romance. It is not a love story. It's very much not. It's when they're calling that one a romance, they're meaning more of the time it's a sort of romantic ideal. So when they're talking about the romantic period, they're meaning kind of that idealistic mentality. It's not what we would call a romantic comedy or a chick flick. That's not it at all. So just to clear that one up. If there are any more questions, feel free to ask. I put myths, folktales, legends, and fables together because I feel like they overlap a lot. A Western on one level it's got a historical setting. A Western, I had a professor, American Lit professor, who liked to point out that Westerns are sort of our version of the knight in shining armor. It's the closest we have since we didn't come from Europe. Or, we're not European, but it's sort of our version of the kind of King Arthur sort of Gallant Knight, and, you know, the Lady in Waiting kind of thing like that. So anyway, random tidbit. Thought you'd enjoy that. Realistic and contemporary, those are the more, you know, modern setting. Yeah, and then from there we get to split off into many directions. So, moving on.